Welcome back to In the Side of the Storm, where we talk all things Cyclones. We are live from the AKC Marketing Studio with Andrew Downs and sponsored by Revelton Distillery out of Osceola, Iowa. I'm Dave Larson here with my Storm Team partners and Cyclone greats, Brent Curvey and Marcus Pfizer. Gentlemen, how are you?
No complaints this way.
Really well, blessed for sure.
That's awesome. We had a little bit of a hiatus, and I guess technically we're still on hiatus, but we have a kind of a fun episode for everyone today with Marq Tampa, who is the father of another Cyclone great, TJ Tampa, who was drafted this past weekend into the NFL. Marq, how are you?
Yes, sir.
I'm doing good. I'm just getting over the exhaustion. But no, it's been a good week. And I'm sure we'll get into the details, but I'm extremely happy and proud and just recovering from all the excitement.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. It was a pretty eventful, I think we all expected TJ to be drafted on day 2 as early as the second round, and he ended up going in the 4th round and the 130th pick to the Baltimore Ravens. Walk us through maybe what was that first night, draft night, like on Thursday night?
Yeah. So, based on all of the feedback that, we were getting from his agent and just from various sources, it was pretty much a lock that he was going day 2. Early on, it was more or less second round. The closer that we got to the actual day, Thursday, we knew there was a chance he can fall into the 3rd. And so either way, it was a day 2. So, my family and I planned this huge event because we were in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is my hometown and where TJ finished high school. So he has a ton of friends there, my family. And so we had this big, really, it was a 2-day event. It was a Thursday, Friday event because we knew we had so many people coming from out of town. We got this huge Airbnb. And we're like, everyone just come over and watch the first round because you're coming from out of town. Just watch the first round. I said, look, there's a slight chance, and I mean really slight, he goes in the first. But we just wanted to fellowship. And then we had this huge party, really for a large, about double the crowd that we had at the Airbnb. By the way, we had about 90 people at the Airbnb, and then about 150 at this huge party that my cousin, I wish I could show you the pictures. It was a beautiful setup. And, we had these leather chairs watching the big screen, and we were all set to go had a DJ and catered. And for all intents and purposes, it was a great night. We just didn't get the call that day or that night. And so, TJ held up and had a good poker face. I know he was frustrated. I was pissed. But he had, like I said, he had a good poker face. He smiled, thanked everybody for coming, and it just let us know, things like he mentioned before, things are just unpredictable with this draft. With the few defensive players really not being called until late round 2, we were just hoping that there would be a run of corners taken early, which would help his chances. And it turns out not as many corners taken as we thought. And then when they started to go, we were like, wait a minute. Okay, some of these names we just hadn't heard being in that, in that round. And so, we really had nothing planned for day 3. But we improvised, and about the whole crowd from that party showed up at the Airbnb the next day, and we got what we needed. And so at the end of the day, it was still a little nerve-wracking. But when he got the call, like I've heard a lot of stories. Once he got the call, all the frustration and the anxiety from waiting just kind of went away, and it was at that point it was a party.
There you go.
So on Thursday night, do you basically relax thinking, it's an outside chance for the first round, second round is more likely, hey, we're going to just kind of relax and watch the draft? Or were you still anticipating the potential to receive that call? And were there any teams that you thought, if they're going to take a chance in the first round, this is the team that's going to do it?
Yeah. I really didn't want to get into certain teams, but at this point, hey, it is what it is. We really didn't think much of the first. Like I said, I talked to his agent maybe the night before, and I said, just give me realistic expectations for the first round. He said there's probably like a 5% chance. He says he was gathering information and intel from the different teams, and we knew at play were a lot of teams that said they needed a corner. We knew, Baltimore, we knew Green Bay, the Vikings, Buffalo at one point really probably we showed the most interest. I mean, they may have had about 3 separate meetings with TJ, via Zoom calls. They flew out to Iowa State, took him to dinner, had a private workout, which they said he answered all of their questions. And then they flew him out to Buffalo. And then he actually went from Buffalo and flew out to Washington to meet with the Commanders. And honestly, I don't bet, but I was willing to bet money that Washington was going to be that first or second pick in the second, like early second with Washington, because the feedback that he got from them, I mean, it's kind of like college recruiting. All the schools will tell you they like you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cliche at this point. And so he was getting a lot of that from teams. But Washington was the only team that literally said they love him and that he was a perfect fit in their system. And so I guess I took that, I took that as a high degree of assurance they were going to get him. And then when they passed on him, I think that's when I started to get worried.
So you're sitting around Friday. Boy, today's the day, right? We're thinking that second or third round. Was TJ pacing around? He made reference about his poker face, and the crowds probably swelled up quite a bit that night with family and friends. What was that like for him and for you as a dad to sit around? I mean, this is your son that has put his life and soul into football, and he's done the work, and now he's ready. And what's that like for you as a dad to watch him sit and anticipate where he's going to go?
Yeah. The way we had the venue set up, everyone were in like circular, tables behind us, and we were sitting in this leather couch, looking at the screen. And so, one of his first marketing deals with Zebra Technologies, and they're the company that powers that NFL Next Gen stat. So they provide the technology, the sensors, and everything to track all the, the motion and the motion data. And so they were there filming, and so he was mic'd up, and then we were sitting on the couches just really watching the TV. So he really didn't move much. And I'm sitting there in the second round, through the second round, and it's just, my family. So my wife and I and my daughter, we're all sitting in the couch together. And so we're just watching the draft. And, after the second round, I started to get antsy. And so every commercial break, I had to get up and pace. And then, his agent, Reggie Johnson, who was CAA, he actually has Michael Penix and Johnny Newton. And so Michael Penix, of course, was a surprise because he went 8th. Johnny, and actually the crazy thing is the 3 of them, we were all probably within 50 miles of each other. Johnny was having a draft party in Orlando. Mike Penix, who went first round, he had his actually in St. Pete. So he went Friday. But that night it was Johnny. So I think Reggie went to Orlando, and as soon as Johnny Newton was picked, he haultailed it over to our party. And so we all were just sitting there, and I'm watching him flip through. He had 2 phones, and thumbs are just moving. I'm pacing, but I'm trying to put on a face because I'm really just trying to socialize with all my friends and family that traveled in. But TJ stood right. He just sat right there. He never got up the whole time. He was talking to us. He was on his phone. And my friends, I just remember them saying, look, we know when he puts that phone up here, we know that's the signal. and everybody, they're just like jumping every time he'll put his phone down. Every time he grabbed his phone, everybody's on pins and needles. But it just never happened. And actually, we had a false alarm. Someone, and TJ sent out a message to everyone: do not call him. But somebody called him locally, and he picked up the phone, and I just hear this, oh, and I'm like, no, false alarm. Hush, still waiting. But again, at the end of the night, it didn't happen. I just let everyone know, hey, I appreciate everyone coming. Look, we know he's going to get drafted tomorrow, so it's still a celebration, and everyone just gave him a standing ovation. Took pictures, took a bunch of pictures with him like he just got picked, and so I think it made him feel good. And then his friends took him out to just kind of take his mind off of stuff. And then when we came back that next day, I actually told him, look, people are coming, but you can go do whatever you want to do. If you want to go out in the yard, jump in the pool, do something. You don't have to sit here and just watch this. He said, nope, I'm going to sit right here. I'm going to watch it until my name's called. And that's what he did. And so all of his friends just sat around him until we got that call.
You probably hear my dogs upstairs bark, and I apologize, gentlemen. So walk us. So day 3 happens. You have a little bit more confidence that something's going to break. Was there a team? I know that TJ went to high school in the Tampa St. Pete area, moved down from Pennsylvania. Was there a team that he was hoping that he'd hear from? Did he grow up? Did both of you grow up and idolize any certain team in the NFL?
Well, if you know TJ's background, we're a basketball family, so he really didn't have. I mean, even when he got picked by Iowa State, and they started offering, and he started getting offers from other schools, he just didn't pay attention much to football. I mean, he played it, but really, out of a 12-month year, he probably played football 3 months out of the year growing up. Everything else was basketball.
Which
so
interesting thing. Brent is the same way. He loved basketball, played football, and then Marcus played basketball but loved football.
Oh wow, yeah, that's how it happens sometimes. And so, he didn't have much. Yeah, he didn't have much of a football reference or history, and so same thing with college. That's why I think it was an easy pick for Iowa State, because he wasn't really stuck on I got to play here. Or I got to play for this conference. It was whoever treated him the best, he was fine with. And so with the NFL, although he does watch it because he's a big, Odell Beckham Jr. fan, and and then when he started playing corner, he started paying attention to other corners. He was really just looking at players. He wasn't really focused on teams. And then, but me, I played football and then I've switched to basketball. So I was always a Buccaneer fan. I mean, his last name Tampa, living in the Tampa Bay area, it's kind of by default you got to be a Bucs fan. And so I always thought that was my dream for if I didn't play, my son would play for the Bucs. I just figured the marketing money alone he can live off of and just bank the football money. So that's really what I wanted for him. So the Bucs lost a fan that weekend. They lost actually a lot of fans because there was a lot of people. I actually have a high school classmate. She was actually voted fan of the year. So I don't know how she's going to – that's going to be interesting because she was one of the main ones campaigning for him to get drafted by the Bucs. But I kind of wasn't too disappointed because I had heard early on that they really weren't that high on him. And also, I saw him getting mocked to San Francisco, which I thought would have been cool with Brock being there. But I also kind of heard the same things. And then I will say the only other team that I really had a feeling on once we got into the late in the second was the LA Rams. And that's because, of course, his high school coach is an area scout for the Rams. And, he's been preaching TJ going top 5 for the last 2 years. And then, of course, when Shieldhouse went there, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. At least you got 2 people banging the table for him. But as it was, it didn't work out. So, but again, you were disappointed. There was a lot of frustration, a lot of anxiety, but then to find out where he went. And I think that was really, when people ask me all the time, where do you want him to go? I always mention the Bucks, but I say really at the end of the day, I want him to go to the best fit. I want him to go to a team that's winning. I'd rather not have him go to a team that's, starting from the bottom, retooling, or coaches on the hot seat. Because I'm not going to mention the team, but I do know there was one team that said if they drafted him in late in the second, early third, they were going to start him immediately. But they were going to do that knowing that if they lose those first few games, those coaches are gone. So, yeah, it sounded good. Son gets a chance to start day one, but, I've always taught them, my kids, it's for the long haul. So you're going to have to learn to fight for your spot. And, I did it in basketball. If I felt like my kids were, the best ones on the team, I moved them up or moved them to another team. I needed them to learn how to fight for, learn to either fight to start or fight to keep your position. And so I think he's in a good spot, though. Although he is fourth round, I don't know if you've heard the general manager say, but they had a second round grade on him. They just were amazed that he was, they were amazed he was still there. And if they didn't get Nate Wiggins that first round, they were more than likely going to get TJ, early or late second. And so, knowing that they feel that way about him, I think he's in a great position. He can battle for that spot. If he doesn't get it, he can play behind, all-pro Marlon Humphreys, learn, and with his contract coming up, they have a couple people that's starting that they're going to be contract years, and the Ravens are probably not going to want to pay Marlon as much as they're paying him now. At the end of that huge second deal he got. So there's opportunity. And then, like I said, one of the top three organizations in the league, behind, probably same breath as Kansas City and San Fran. He gets to play with Charlie again. And so, like I said, I think it's a great fit for him. And plus, they're one of, if not the top defense, in the top three. So he's going to fit right in. And I think that's what I'm proud about the most, really. Not only did he get picked, but he went to the team that he went to.
Well, and you're right. Some of those players, you start seeing some success, they're going to want to get paid, and the Ravens are going to have to make some tough decisions. And it's helpful to know that you've got some studs waiting in the wings to come in. And so, his next step is now to move into some rookie mini camps coming up. Brent, you've had some experiences with training camp. What are some things that TJ should expect here as he moves into that next phase as a draft selection, and really any of these rookies that are jumping into the NFL for the first time?
Oh man, it's just a learning curve. By that, just call it like the academic side of things. So the playbook, right? So it's typically not easy in college per se, but when you go to the league, there's a lot of different coverages, a lot of formations you got to learn, and all of these things. So if anything, man, as much as you want to party, and I don't know if TJ's go out and hang out with the guys type of guy or not, but my biggest advice to him would be like sacrifice a night or two and hop in that playbook like when you can, because it pays dividends in the end. So I know as a D lineman, I had a pretty solid size playbook, so I can only imagine what a corner would need to know. Because, as versatile and as athletic as he is, he's going to have to know multiple positions, I'm sure. So not just corner. I'm sure he'll have some nickel stuff. He's going to be on special teams. He'll have to know all of that stuff. So, man, if anything, like hop in that playbook and just learn, because at the end of the day, it's not a matter of if, it's going to be a win, right? He's going to get on the field at some point, and it's a long season, and guys don't necessarily stay healthy the whole way through. So, he gets his chance, man. It's like that mentality. I can't give anybody this job back. It's mine. I know what I'm doing, and take full advantage of it. So,
Marcus, any advice for TJ as he moves into the next phase of his career?
Well, I personally was just want him to just understand the business side of it all.
Mhm.
I tell people all the time the last time basketball was fun for me is when I was in college. You know, once you got to the professional side, it became really, really political. You can be a lot better than some vets or some people that's been there before you, and you don't get that chance, you know, to go out and be productive. It may be a little bit better now. You know, I'm 24 years removed from my draft, so hopefully, you know, he'll be able to get out there and if he's good enough to win that position, you know, give him that opportunity and that chance. But just knowing and understanding that it is a big it is a big business side of it all. Take it in as much as you can. Be a sponge to take in as much as you can. But it can get frustrating. It can get extremely frustrating. But stay the course. You know, can continue to improve. You know, on the things that he has to work on. We know what he can do. Great. We've watched him. You know, all year make spectacular plays. But when you have that chance and that opportunity to work on things that you're not great at, that's gonna separate you from the rest of the field and not going in the second round or maybe late first or high in the third round. You know, use that for fuel. You know, just use that for fuel. Just knowing where you are within yourself to get better. And I mean, look. You know, when the things that Brock Purdy has come through, and I mean, TJ was selected and ahead of him, and so that's something to think about and know that when the opportunity comes, take advantage of that opportunity and make the best of it.
Appreciate
So,
that.
so Mark, you made reference. What was the recruitment like for TJ to select Iowa State? He had several schools, several big name schools that he was looking at. What made him select Iowa State?
Well, I'll take it quickly a step back. For first 3 years of high school, he just knew he was going basketball.
Oh yeah.
And he was, you know, and when we made the move from Atlanta to St. Petersburg, within the first month, he picked up his first offer for basketball. He had his first scholarship offer to James Madison. Um, and so we just knew it was going to be that route. And then he didn't play spring football that year, played AAU. Things didn't work out with the team, and so he decided to go all in football. And by the time he went all in football, that's when the offers started really coming. Iowa State was the first, I would say, the first P5 offer. Um, and so, once that was, you know how they do. Once that first P5 offer comes, then everybody else wants to come in. And so,
Mhm.
um, we decided at some point, let's just sit down and let's do a quick tour of the schools right now. That let's pick 4 or 5 schools and let's just take a week. I'll take a week off and we just do a tour. Um, and so we started off locally, went to South Florida, went to UCF. None of the big Florida schools offered him, which he was really upset about. You know, they always wanted him to go to the camps, but never offered. Um, and so we did those two, and then we went to where did we go first? I think we went to Iowa State. So once we did those, we went to Iowa State. That's right. We went there first. And when I tell you and I know you know the story about him getting, he went on the visit and then our flight got canceled due to a storm. We were going to go to Toledo. And so that got delayed by a day. And so they called him and said, well, since you guys are going to be here all day, go to the camp. And just, you don't even have to do anything. Just go to the camp, get out of the hotel. It turned in, just get out of the hotel to, just let's just play catch with one of the quarterbacks. We were, we just are just committed. Just play catch on the side and let everybody come. Next thing you know, gloves and cleats come on and say, well, while you're here, you might as well run a few rounds. And that went from that to when they're at the end of the camp, you know how they do one-on-ones. And I'll never forget, Shieldhouse and Campbell are walking us from the indoor facility to the Jack Trice field, and they're saying, look, we're just coming out here to do for one-on-ones. TJ, we don't want him to do anything because he's going to embarrass the DBs that are here. And so they were like, look, he's not going to do it. But by that time, Anthony Johnson had seen TJ run drills, and he was like, no, you got to go. Like, I got to see this. Like, just go one time. One time turned into about 5 times. And the first rep he did at wide receiver, he stacked the dude, and when he cut, the guy fell. And it was a touchdown. So by that time, Anthony and those are jumping over for joy on the side, and he whispered over to Coach Capone. And then Coach Capone came to me. He's like, hey, do you mind if TJ gets one rep at DB? And I'm like, look, it's out of my hands at this point. Just ask him. If he does it, that's fine. I'm not in it. And so I said, you got to talk to Steelhouse because that's his guy. So he got him to go one time at DB and just blanketed the dude. And I said, well, they got a problem on their hands. But after that, we visited a couple other schools, and just from a presentation, just from a caring about him, the constant communication, I mean, TJ fell in love quickly. And so he pretty much knew in his head, although he wouldn't tell me. I knew, and me and my son think alike. So we eat the same breakfast, no matter what. Whatever he gets, I just say order 2. And if I order it first, he just say order 2 because we eat the same. So I kind of know what he's thinking, but he's getting older, so some things might change. But I kind of knew Iowa State was always number 1. The problem is he went to Georgia and kind of did what he did at Iowa State. And I'll never forget, I was on the phone with Kirby Smart that night, and he went again to their elite camp, which was a much smaller camp. And Kirby might have spent, out of the 2-hour camp, he spent about 90 minutes watching and talking with TJ. So I just knew he was getting offered by them. Then they didn't offer, so we were kind of upset. And then they waited till the night before signing day to finally decide to offer. But by that time, it was too late. Although we did wait a couple of days. We didn't sign that day. He waited a couple of days because, TJ growing up in Atlanta, he just heard about Georgia so much. He knew they were good. So he kind of got confused. And so we just like, look, take your time. In Iowa State, they stood right there. They supported him. They said, look, take some time. But of course, don't take too much time. And so he took his time. And, at the end, I said, look, do you have any doubts about Iowa State? He said, no. I said, well, don't wait. Don't make them wait. Just go. And that's what he did. So
he's there during a winter storm. And what I find fascinating, you got a kid from Florida that sees Iowa during a winter storm. Brent Marq.
It was during the summer.
What's that?
It was during the camp was during the summer.
Oh, it was during the summer. I see.
Yeah.
You're talking about being in the indoor practice fields. I thought it might have been during a winter storm.
No, it was sometime in June.
Yeah, that practice field probably got him too.
Yeah.
It was nice. Yeah.
Well, but Brent and Marcus, I mean, you guys are from the South as well, and that's a big change to come up north and play when you've got weather like what Iowa has.
Yeah.
Well, I played inside.
Well,
so hey,
that's it.
Hey, for me, all I had to do was get to the building. That outside wind and that concrete on that tundra is kind of what kept me off that gridiron. So you got to talk to Brent about that.
Man, and the sad part, I committed in December when Iowa State was practicing for a bowl game outside. They didn't have the indoor. Everything was outdoors. That was crazy. I don't know. I think I was just excited. I don't know. It was just a bunch of excitement. But I was down there on that field, shivering like crazy, man. Couldn't get my words out, but I was like, "Yeah, I'm coming. Like I'm coming." But man, by the way, I remember when TJ was getting all this steam, and they were talking about, man, this kid, he's a hooper. And he had that viral video of him like jumping something crazy. Like he was, I don't know if his head was above the rim or he was looking at the rim or something, but I was like, who is this? I'm excited to watch, what this dude is, because if he bouncing like that, I can't wait to see what he does on the field. Crazy athletic, man.
Yeah, his senior year, he had 55 dunks at playing the point guard spot.
Ooh,
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a
he
lot.
was-
Yeah, and it wasn't. I mean, they made it to the state championship game. They lost by like 7 his junior year, but then he just took another. I mean, he was doing crazy stuff then, but he kind of just took another step his senior year. But actually, there's another one. I don't know if you guys saw the draft where it was shown on
It was
NFL
off.
Network. So we were actually on ESPN, so we didn't hear them call his name. We just saw the ticker. But then people started showing me they actually announced his name. Late I forgot who, I don't know who she is, came up there and announced his name, and then they were talking about him, and they showed that viral dunk, and then they showed another one, and that one was probably the best one because he was 15. Yeah, he was 15 that second dunk, and his football coach actually, because he didn't do spring, he would show all the scouts that came in, he would show them that dunk as evidence of his athleticism. Because that dunk, he actually hit his
that
head.
one right there.
Yeah, it's not
I
in here,
remember it.
but he hit his shoulder and his head on the side of the backboard at 15.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, oh yeah, he's nice.
Yeah.
You guys are crazy. I could barely touch the net, and yet all three of you can get up there. That's amazing. Was there any thought of maybe playing basketball as well in college, or was he just focused on football and that was the sport? Because I'm amazed that Brent was a football player that loved basketball. Marcus was a basketball player that loved football. And now we've got TJ that played football and loved basketball as well. Was there any consideration for playing basketball too?
No, I wanted him to at least try it. Just even if you just walk on and maybe just by the time the tournament starts, you get a few games under your belt and maybe you come off the bench or do something. I wanted him to at least try it one year, but he was like, "This is football is enough. It's grueling." And he actually, same thing kind of happened with him his senior year. Football in high school, we were always in contention for at least get to the state finals. And so by the time the season ended and basketball began, he would miss like the first 5 or 6 games of the season, and then it took him another probably 5 or 6 games just to get his timing back. And so he didn't want to go through that at the college level. So he didn't think about it. But he did.
That makes sense.
He plays for fun. And I know his freshman year, he played a lot of basketball against the men's team, and just pick up games. But yeah, by his account, he dunked on everybody that played that freshman year. And then he just slowed up. He didn't want to get hurt, so he just played for fun.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the clock here. We've got to take a quick time out and hear a word from our sponsor, Revelton Distillery.
Why take the best corn in the world and make it into fuel when you could make it into whiskey? That's the question that launched Revelton, Iowa's most visible and fastest growing distillery. Owners Rob and Christy Taylor embrace the grain-to-glass philosophy, sourcing ingredients locally and overseeing on-premises production and bottling at their facility in Osceola. One sip and you'll agree that Revelton's handcrafted whiskeys, gins, and vodkas are the best you've ever tasted. And with the launch of their rye whiskey, made with 100% Iowa-grown rye and corn, and their new bourbon coming soon, there's more Revelton to love than ever. Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com.
All right, and we're back. Thank you to Rob and Chrissy Taylor. And swinging back towards the summer months, I've got my mulberry gin by my side. Mark, tell us how you feel as a dad in seeing TJ's progression to where he's at, where he's now an official draft pick of the NFL and the Baltimore Ravens. What's that feel like for you?
Extreme sense of pride and just, all you want as a father is your kid, you want them to be good citizens. You want them to do the right thing, but it really gives a sense of pride when they accomplish dreams and they reach dreams. And of course, with him with basketball, he always dreamt of the NBA. And I think when he got to Iowa State, I think after his freshman year, he started to see others go pro. He saw Brees get the attention, and Brees is probably one of his best friends. That's in the NFL right now, and so just seeing that, I think he saw a path. And the one thing about the Iowa State coaches, they they thought he had pro potential before he stepped foot, and the constant just confirmation from them and the just you can do this, and they I don't think for once did they ever let him doubt he couldn't do it. Which is why I would still to this day run through a brick wall for Coach Campbell. He everything he promised he fulfilled, and a lot of
Nice.
coaches promise things before you get there, but he has met everyone that he's said to us. Um, but just to see him reach it, knowing how hard it is to even get to the NFL, let alone get
Mhm.
drafted. It's extreme sense of pride, and so I'm just happy he's happy. He like I said, he had that poker face on early. I couldn't contain it. I was pissed. But then, of course, just to see how happy he was, and TJ's very low key, but for to see him shed a tear, I knew it meant a lot to him, and so just seeing that, lets me know he's going to be all right.
Does he have a number yet? I see that the number two's already been selected.
Yeah, you got to, first rounders get their choice, so he couldn't get it. But I think I believe he's picking 27. I asked him that today, so he said 27. I don't know if it meant anything, but it has the 2 in it, I guess. So he's going to go with that for now.
Is 27 like a high school number then, or any purpose behind that number?
I was looking for it. I didn't ask him why he picked it. I just figured it had 2 in it, and 25, which was his first 2 years at Iowa State, that was taken too. So I think he just chose the next best number for him.
So Brent has a son that will be going to the wrong university in a year down in Kansas. Any advice for Brent's son?
Oh, man, he's playing football?
Turn the tables on you, Brent.
Yeah, playing football.
Okay. I think you kind of. I think it was Marcus that said it, or maybe you said it about, like I said, learning the playbook. That's probably the first thing I would say. Learn the playbook. Of course, do well in school. The classwork, still the same rules apply for when you were in high school. And then listen to your coaches, man. Just try to outwork everybody in your group. I have a good friend of mine that played in the NFL 10 years, and he's been TJ's mentor. He played corner at Notre Dame, and this is when I knew TJ mentally took that extra leap and went kind of from just a guy on the team to wanting to be the man. And he told him, if you aren't the best one in that position group, if you don't feel you're the best one in that position group, you're not going to play on Saturdays. If you don't feel you're the best one on your team, you may play on most Saturdays. If you don't feel you're the best one on that field at all times, you're not going to play on Sundays. And I think he took that to heart. And so for your son, I'd say have that level of confidence. It's a make, you can have all the physical skills and tools, but that confidence takes you much further. And so, and that comes from hard work and preparation. So I'm sure you know that, but that's the advice I would give.
Like
Brent,
that.
he sounds like you.
I like that. I like it. I haven't heard that one. I was about to text him to tell him to come down here right now. Listen to this. Have us a
Well,
good little story tomorrow.
and for the record, the only wrong university is University of Iowa.
True story. True story.
Tell me about it. I'm
If-
gonna have to get off
story.
Twitter because of those fans, because boy, they almost got me out of character several times.
They good for that, man.
Yeah,
Who'd
they
have thought
good
they'd been
for
so
it.
damn happy about a freaking punter being drafted? Please.
Hey, it is what it is. We'll see in the long haul.
That's it.
It's a marathon.
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
So, any plans for the future with the family? I mean, any will you be traveling and following and much like the Purdy's, when Marq was even on the bench for the 49ers, I think the Purdy's traveled to all their games. And any plans for your family to travel to watch the Ravens play?
Oh, definitely. Like I do watch the NFL. I mean, but probably not to the extent I'm going to start watching it. So I got to start getting, I got to get versed on my conference foes and
That's
coaching
it.
staff, administration. I got to know names and faces. So
Yeah.
it's time to dive in. But no, I'm all excited. So I don't care if he's on special teams. I'm right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
It
really
makes
excited
splashes.
because that's a nice team he got selected by. So
I know. Look, even if he's not on the field, I get to watch Lamar. I'm good. And Derrick Henry.
That's it.
that type situation make him really, really be keyed in on what he got to do to get on the field. And from where he's coming from, we know he's not going to take that long for that to happen. So it's going to be real exciting.
Yeah.
He's popping into a championship caliber team too, and they tend to work a little bit different. You know what I mean? It's you got some teams that are run of the mill. They're kind of mid conference type of guys, and the process is a lot different. And you get to a winning program like that, storied history, defense is there like forte, and it's been for years. Oh yeah, he's going to learn a whole new level of working and really just how to carry himself. So, down the line, as his career continues to progress, anywhere he goes, he'll have a total different standard of how he even approaches everything.
Yeah.
Probably couldn't
And
have
if it's
came to a
anything
better
like his
program.
experience, and if it's anything like the experience at Iowa State, like I said, and I remember telling Coach Capone this when he made the switch to DB. We probably one of the few times I spoke to Capone about it. But I just told him, I said, look, I know you didn't really get a chance to recruit my son because it was mostly Shellhouse at the wide receiver spot. But I said, you're going to get probably one of the most athletic kids you've ever coached. And he has a high IQ. He's willing to do whatever. So it's just an athletic ball of clay you're about to get. And I think Baltimore, and I'm pretty sure they know it, but it's different when he gets there. And I think they're going to see that too. Just a little bit more polished. But yeah, that athleticism is still there, just in a bigger body now. So I think he'll make his mark pretty quickly.
And he has a chip on his shoulder too now.
And that's dangerous because I don't think he's ever had that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that people got to understand that he is a kid, and as you begin to become a man and get into that man body, then everything takes off. When you're young and you're drafted under vets, and those vets are kicking your butt every day in practice, and you like, okay, this got to change. And then you start hitting that weight room and you start figuring things out, and then now your man body is coming. A lot of things change really, really quick. So with him being a college student, getting drafted, we're grateful and thankful for that. Know the opportunity that he has, but come on now, we know how it works in the pro race, and once he gets that opportunity to figure out how this works, preparation, practice, getting rest, games and stuff like that, you start to figure it out. And once you combine that with the work ethic and getting bigger, faster, stronger on that level, sky's gonna be the limit for sure.
Yeah.
And you made reference, former Iowa State Cyclone Charlie Kolar is on the team as well. Has Charlie reached out to have conversations with TJ about what to expect with joining the Ravens?
Not yet. I know he tweeted out, welcome to the flock when TJ got drafted. He tweeted that out, but he hasn't spoken to him yet. But I did see he was on a podcast earlier today. And he said he did get his number, TJ's number from Brees, and that he was going to call him today or tomorrow. So I'm sure he'll call him tomorrow.
Well, he
before
might
he
still be
reports to
hanging
me.
out in Taylor Mauser's basement watching Taylor's baby. We had Coach Mouse on the podcast a month or so ago, and lo and behold, Charlie was there, staying there, camping out overnight at Coach's house. So, small world that we live in.
Yeah. But I know Charlie's a smart guy, so and he's a Cyclone. I know he did mention something about the fact that TJ will help him because right now I guess there's some Hawkeyes that's either on the team and in the coaching ranks. So at least to have a fellow Cyclone there will help him out a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and that's got to be fun for him to be. I'm sure that they're going to face each other in practice, and being able to line up with Lamar Jackson. That's going to be a great experience for him. Is Odell Beckham still with the Ravens? I don't know if he re-signed with them or not.
I don't think he is.
No, I think he's he didn't
free agent,
resign. I think he's still free.
Okay.
Hey, it's bad enough he got to go against Derrick Henry. I'm just
Right.
That's a monster right there running the ball.
Yeah. It's a lot of business decisions that'll have to be made.
A ton of business decisions.
Well, one thing's for certain, this Ravens team is going to be a lot of fun to watch this year for Cyclone fans.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, and Charlie's probably going to take another step forward, and I know he's probably going to get more reps than he did in his last 2 years. So it'll be fun to watch. Luckily, I have quite a few friends and family who are really surprisingly huge Ravens fans, and so yeah, it's going to be crazy this year.
There you go.
Well, I'm looking forward to my 27 Baltimore Ravens jersey to replace my Tampa Island shirt that I'm wearing tonight. I think we'll all be on the lookout and watching the Ravens this NFL season. Mark, it's been a pleasure to have you on tonight's podcast, and we wish you and your family all the best, and looking forward to the NFL season coming up.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's a good show, and I appreciate the well wishes. And hey, let's go Clones and go Ravens.
That's it.
Congratulations again, bro.
Yeah, congrats,
Thank you.
man.
That's a great way to end the show. So thanks, everyone, for joining us tonight for this special episode of In the Side of the Storm, and we will see you next time.
All right, guys.